All right, Tracy, we are live on Facebook and YouTube. You can go ahead and get started.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Hearst Castle. It is a beautiful day here on the central coast of California. I want to welcome all the junior rangers out there. Thank you for joining me on this very first program of our 8-week summer series, where we're going to take it from the castle all the way to the coast, because here in this slow San Luis Obispo coastal district, we have so many really awesome state parks to offer you guys. My name is Tracy, and you're going to be spending the first segment with me, and then I'm going to take you out there and all the way south down the coast, about 42 miles, where you will get to hang out with Mariana and explore, dive in really to the Morro Bay Estuary. I'm really glad that you're here with me today. Wait. I just want to give you a smile. It was safe for me to take off my mask and say, thank you for joining me. We're going to explore the Neptune Pool today. Put that back on. How does it look? Okay. Hearst Castle is this really cool place. We are a state park, of course. Here we go. We are the former home of a famous Californian, a newspaper publisher named William Randolph Hearst. And boy, did he know how to live in style, right? If you want to check out what it was like to live like the rich and famous almost 100 years ago, there it is, my friends. It's the Neptune Pool. 100 years ago, he started building his dream home, which was a castle, 3 cottages, and 2 pools. Today, we're exploring the Neptune Pool. Let's check it out. What evokes those summertime vibes for you out there, my friends? What is it that you like about summertime? Not waking up early to go to school? That's pretty good. Going to the beach? Now, there are some beaches that are open on the Central Coast, so I do want you to be safe and wear your mask and maintain social distancing. As of now, Hearst Castle is still closed to the public. So this is your ticket in right now through the virtual ranger program. And for the next 8 weeks, check it out. Let me flip the camera. Let's see. Okay, we're gonna go this way. Okay, there we go. Wow, what a pool. Like I said, the rich and famous, living in style. Look at this pool. It's called the Neptune Pool. How did the Neptune Pool get its name? Well, I'm sure you all have heard of Neptune. One of the planets in our solar system is named Neptune. It's an icy planet, my friends. There's water on that planet in the form of ice. And let's see, Neptune, you may have heard of him if you are learning or have read stories on mythology, ancient mythology, Roman mythology. Neptune is the god of the sea. Gosh, we just saw the ocean. You saw how we were overlooking the Pacific Ocean from this beautiful hilltop estate. And Neptune is overlooking the pool. There's the statue of Neptune right up there. Typically, Neptune has a trident in his hand. It's like this 3-pronged kind of fork. And the statue is reaching his hand out, but he's missing the trident. And the trident is an attribute, you know, when we see that trident, it gives us an idea of who's holding it, who that person is, what they're associated with. We know Neptune is associated with the ocean and the waves, sometimes the earth shaking. He's a powerful Roman god, and there he stands in this, well, it's like a temple structure. Does this architecture look familiar to you? Have you ever seen anything like it? I know if we got any 6th graders out there in California, yeah, you've learned about the ancient civilizations and you've seen that. This style of architecture reminds you of maybe the Greek and the Romans. If you've been to Washington, D.C., or if you're from a major city, maybe there's a building in your town that has the columns that we see. And what's fun, we could be these architect type detectives, architectural detectives. When we look at this temple, what kind of shapes do we see in there? Actually, when you look at the whole pool, it's filled with shapes. Well, I see a triangle at the top. That's where Neptune is. A rectangle here. The columns are cylindrical. Let's check out this pool. What does this pool remind you of? I've asked that question to many, many students. They say they want to swim in it, or it reminds them of stained glass, maybe. It's got a diamond pattern all the way around. What other shapes do you see in there? This is called the Greek key pattern. It's a really old pattern, dates back thousands of years. We've got squares in the center. Wow, I would love to take a dip in here. We're gonna check the temperature in a little bit though. It's so beautiful. It's 104 feet across. Can anyone swim that? You might wanna put your floaties on once you leave the shallow end, 3.5 feet deep. It's 10 feet deep on the other side. So the first segment of our program today is here at the Neptune Pool in Hearst Castle. And then the second segment of our program, we're going to take you down again, like I said, to Mariana at Morro Bay State Park, where you're going to dive into some fun facts and even the estuary itself. And she's got a really cool project for you. So before Mariana comes aboard for our program, you might want to gather supplies for that, like paper and markers and the spray bottle. And she's going to teach you about where water comes from and how it travels to the estuary in Morro Bay, okay? So, and even if you have your markers and your pens and pencils with you right now and your piece of paper, you can even draw what you see here. You can draw the Neptune Pool. So it's surrounded by these marble statues. Look, it's 6 feet deep over there. So there's actually 3 main depths of the pool. And on 4 sides, it has marble statues, and it's surrounded by these columns. It's quite an opulent pool. I want to walk. Can I walk you all around this pool today? Is anyone sitting poolside at their home? Are you going to go swimming today or maybe into the ocean? That's what a lot of kids in California do, but I bet we got people connecting from all over the United States. Let's take a walk. Let's see what else is here at the pool. So this pool was built in the 1930s. That's how old it is, the pool itself. But look at all the structures that surround it, like these columns. They're called colonnades when they're in a row like that. And then that really cool temple facade. It kind of looks like, oh, the Parthenon in ancient Greece. I wonder if anything that is a part of this temple is that old. I wonder if it could date back to the ancient Greeks or Romans. Well, hello, I've got my friend Andrew with me.
Hey, Tracy.
Hi, I love your cupcake mask, Andrew.
Isn't that nice?
It's pretty amazing. Thank you for joining me today.
Well, hi, everybody at home. How are you doing today?
They're doing really good, I hope. So we love working at Hearst Castle, and we love to share it with you. There's really cool things everywhere, and I invited Andrew to tell us what his favorite thing about the Neptune Pool is.
Well, we do have a lot of marble here at the Neptune Pool, but we also have ancient Roman granite columns. So let's get a closer look at these columns, guys, because this is one of the oldest things you're going to see at Hearst Castle. These ancient Roman columns, they're about 1,800 years old.
Wait a minute. These right here, all
Yeah,
the way
get a
up.
closer look, guys, because granite, that's one of the hardest materials you could build with. So the Romans were using a lot of marble and a lot of granite, and that's why so many of the ancient Roman buildings are still standing today. They built their buildings to stand the test of time. So this is a little piece of the Roman Empire right here at Hearst Castle. Incredible.
So Andrew, one of the most fascinating things about these columns here on the temple is that there was someone almost 2,000 years ago that walked past these columns in one of the Roman tunics.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to imagine like a Roman thousands of years ago walking past these columns, and then maybe 100 years ago, one of Mr. Hearst's friends is walking past these columns when they're at the pool parties here. Could you imagine having a pool party in a Roman temple?
And
that's incredible.
Andrew, now you're walking past the columns.
That's true.
Somehow these columns were once in ancient Rome and now they're here in California.
Yeah, that blows my mind.
So yeah, William Randolph Hearst was an art collector, which is why you see these columns and the marble statues. Well, thank you, Andrew, for talking with us today. Let me switch the camera so you can wave.
Bye, everybody.
We'll see you later, Andrew.
Have a good summer.
You'll be seeing a lot of Andrew this summer if you tune in to the virtual ranger programs. And we say they're geared towards ages 7 to 12, but really it's for everyone. If you want to tune in and get a tour of Hearst Castle and different state parks on the San Luis Obispo slow coast, you tuned into the right place, and it's going to be every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 10 a.m. And we're going to do all sorts of fun things and projects. So I just look forward to this. I'm very excited. I wanted to talk about, since we've been talking about marble so much, I wanted to get up close to this marble statue. Now, Andrew told us that those columns are around 2,000 years old. Wow. 2,000 years old? That's crazy. But not everything's that old. Here at Hearst Castle, there's a mixture of old and new. Now I want to show you something, and I have to put on my special white gloves for it because I'm going to touch this statue. We are an art museum. Have you ever been to an art museum before? Did you know you're not allowed to touch any of the art in an art museum? Same thing here at Hearst Castle, but I got special permission to put on these cool gloves and touch a marble statue. This statue is not even 100 years old, so it's kind of a newer thing. And it's marble from a region of northern Italy called Carrara. Now, what I want to tell you is I'm touching her arm and my gloves are kind of sticking. They're kind of sticking to the marble because it's like, have you ever touched a sugar cube? It feels like a sugar cube. Now, the reason why we ask you not to touch marble statues without, special permission, and then that special permission leads to putting gloves on, is because we have oils on our hands. And when those oils get onto the surface of art, it can leave a lot of dirt and grime and buildup. So, wow, this marble statue, it's a swan statue. Look at, there's a swan and there's kind of like a baby Cupid. And the marble is so beautiful and it's really hard and it's kind of coarse. The artist of this statue has a really cute last name. His name is Charles Cassou. Bless you. Okay, so this is marble from a region in Italy. And it's kind of coarse, like sugar cubes. It's like a big sugary cube. That pool actually has marble all in the bottom. And it's white marble. This is the same marble tile that's in the pool. It's smooth, so marble can come in different textures depending on how it's cut and how it's finished. So this is very smooth. That's coarse, like a sugar cube. The marble in the pool is very smooth and it's white. Wait a minute. Why does the pool look blue? Well, now we got to talk about science. It's about, let me put this smooth white marble tile on the ground. The pool is blue because of the way the sun comes. I mean, the light rays come from the sun and they pass through the atmosphere, but then they go into the water. So air molecules in the air have a different density than molecules in the water. So when the light rays hit the water, the light rays bend in a certain manner that sends off this optical illusion that it makes the water look blue, but it's not really blue. And we're gonna see that as, you guys wanna see the temperature of the water? So first of all, do you see how I have water in my hand? Does that look blue to you? Not at all. It's clear. So once we see it in a smaller amount, it looks clear. But when it's in a big amount like this and the light rays hit it, they start to bend and give the optical illusion. Let's check out the temperature. Do we have any guesses out there? What's the temperature of the water? Did I hear 50? 60? 70? Couldn't be, can it? Hey, whoever said 70, you had the best guess. It is 71 degrees. Oh my goodness. Don't you just want to take a swim? That is one of the biggest questions that I get. But because we're an art museum and because we're a state park, we're here to preserve and protect all of the historic structures and all of the marble sculptures and the granite columns. And that's why we don't touch the art. And I'm really sorry to say it, but we really don't swim in the pool that much. However, in the 30s and the 40s, people swam in the pool all the time. They did. And I've got some historic photos here I would like to show you really quick. Let's see, we have one gentleman. He's in a wool bathing suit. That was the bathing suit of the times. This picture was taken in 1931. The pool was a little different in 1931 because they actually built 3 different versions of the pool. And our last picture was taken in 1947. Bathing suits have changed from 1931 to 1947. So we see a woman, she used to work for William Randolph Hearst. She was the switchboard operator at Hurst Castle. She helped to maintain all of the 80+ telephones that were located on site so Mr. Hearst could work from home. So her name was Olive, and she was the switchboard operator in 1947, hanging out at the Neptune Pool, just like we are. My friends, this has been so much fun. I'm glad we got to dive in to some fun facts here at the Neptune Pool. And catch us back here at Hearst Castle 10 a.m. tomorrow for story time on the main terrace in front of Hearst Castle. Now I'm going to send you all down 42 miles away from the castle to Morro Bay State Park, and we make this castle to coast connection. Thanks, everyone. Take it away, Mariana.
That was awesome. Thank you, Tracy. I think my camera's on. I'm not sure if I'm on.
You look
Spotlight.
like you're on.
I
think-
do?
Let's see. Yeah, and I think you might be highlighted, but only Monica will know that.
Okay, perfect. Why, hello, everyone. My name is Mariana. Thank you so much, Tracy, for that tour. I learned so much. Makes me want to be out next to a pool and just enjoying the beautiful day. It is also nice here in Morro Bay State Park. Usually I am wearing a jacket because it's usually cold and foggy, but today it's not. The sun is out, there's few clouds in the sky, and I'm wearing a short sleeve, unusual for me at this time. But again, I am a park interpreter specialist for California State Park, so just like Tracy, and my name is Mariana. See that right there? And sorry, I'm not quite used to the mask, but I am in a public area. This is open, and I just wanted to keep on practicing social distancing and physical distancing and wearing my mask at all times when I am outside. But I'm gonna do the same thing, and I'm gonna do a quick little smile. Hello, there's no one around me, so I just want to show you my face. But that was an awesome presentation. Thank you. And like Tracy said, we're about 40 miles south of Hearst Castle. We're part of the San Luis Obispo Coast District, and we're located on the beautiful central coast of California. And I have a quick map to show you where Hearst Castle is compared to Morro Bay. Here we go. So on the bottom, you have a picture of California, and in that red square is where the San Luis Obispo Coast District is located. And you can see where Hearst Castle is a little bit north, and then you travel down the coast, you see the beautiful Pacific Ocean, and you make it here to Morro Bay State Park. Morro Bay State Park is a very special place. It is home to many endangered and threatened animals, and we like to say that this location is filled with high biodiversity. So that means that there are a lot of different kinds of plants and animals that call Morro Bay home. And in Morro Bay, there are some significant ecological habitats, and we're going to be talking about one primarily today, and that is Morro Bay Estuary. And I'm standing in the estuary, and I'll give you a cool view of exactly where I'm standing. It's peaceful, slight breeze, but very warm. Really feeling that summertime weather. But what is an estuary? Thinking, well, an estuary is where fresh water runs off the land through streams, creeks, rivers, and meets and mixes with the salt water. An estuary, I like to think of it as a sandwich. It's like a middle portion of a sandwich where one side of the bread is the Pacific Ocean, right? Where it gets its salt water from. And then you also have the land that surrounds the estuary. So you can actually kind of see some of the hills in the background. And that land is where that fresh water runs off from those creeks and streams and meets with the Pacific Ocean, creating the Morro Bay Estuary, a very unique habitat. And the land that surrounds it, we call that a watershed. A watershed is basically where rainwater is collected and funnels through an outlet. In this case, it would be the estuary. It's kind of a hard idea to picture, so we're going to do a quick activity called Crumple a Watershed to kind of get a better idea of how the systems interact, how the land and the Pacific Ocean create the estuary, and just get a better idea of what it means to be in a watershed. And to do that, lucky Tracy mentioned some of those awesome supplies that we need. We need a piece of paper that I have right here, and a hard surface. And this hard surface can be anything that you would like. You can use your counter table, your dining table, your desk, whatever you think is comfortable that's a hard surface. Because I am outside, I don't have a table with me, but I do have a clipboard. So this is going to be my hard surface. All right, And you also will need a little bit of tape. So I have tape and two different types of markers and a spray bottle filled with water. But if you don't have a spray bottle, because not everyone has one, you can also just take a cup and fill it up with a little bit of water. And that will do the exact same thing as a spray bottle for this activity. So this activity again is called Crumple a Watershed. So let's get started. Let's try to understand how a watershed works and how that relates to Morro Bay Estuary. The first step is to take our piece of paper and to crumple it. And I'm going to be doing this activity with you. So I have my piece of paper and I'm going to crumple it. Not too tightly, but just enough that it gets all crinkled. Now I'm going to uncrinkle it. My crinkled piece of paper. And I'm going to softly tape this to our hard surface. So for me, that's this clipboard, and I'm just going to softly tape it on here. And you can do this onto your hard surface. Don't want it to completely flatten. Here we go. I'm taping it. I'm lucky that this has this part. Makes it easier. I don't have to tape it all the way. Okay. So I have my crinkled paper on my hard surface. And it almost, we're gonna pretend that this is like a topography map, right? So if I look at it from this view, straight on, I can see all of the crinkles and the uplift of the paper and how it dents in. And we're gonna put some names onto this. We're gonna pretend that these rises in the paper are mountains. That's what we're gonna pretend, that those high peaks are mountains. And all the creases and dips that this paper has, those are gonna represent potential streams and bodies of water. So I'm going to look at it from view from my eye, and then I also want to look at it from above. So as if I was a bird flying above it, I just want to take a look of what it looks like, because that's maybe the view that you would get if you were flying on an airplane and you were looking down onto Earth. You would see all those different rises on Earth's crust. So pretty cool. And the next step is to take our markers. We're going to use our first color choice. I'm going to use red, but you can use whichever color that you would like. The red is going to represent the mountains on our Crumple a Watershed activity. And to label it, we're going to draw on the peaks of our map. So you have a view of my paper, and I see that it's pretty high up right here. So I'm just going to kind of color it in softly. It's a peak. There's one right here. A couple more. And you can do this as detailed as you like. It is your Crumple the Watershed activity. I also have another one right here. Really getting that color in. Okay, so I labeled my mountains. Those are where the high peaks are on my paper. And then I'm going to take the other color. I chose blue, and it's going to represent the potential streams and lakes that are on my paper. So I have a big mountain range right here, and I see that there's a little bit of a crease. So I'm gonna go ahead and just color that in. Maybe there's gonna be some water that would flow down here. All right, because water's gonna hit the mountain and then it's gonna run down. It's gonna hit the mountain and then run down. I see a little bit right here. It's kind of dipped in. There we go. All right, I think that's good for right now. Okay. So now it's time to take our water source. For me, I have a spray bottle filled with water. But for you, again, if you don't have a spray bottle, you can just take a cup and fill it up with a little bit of water. And for those of you that have the cup with the water, you can just take your fingers, dip it, and then splatter it on your piece of paper. And it's going to simulate rain. It's going to simulate rainfall. So I'm going to have it laid down flat, and I'm going to spray my paper. And I'm going to kind of get it soaked a little bit, enough that you can actually see the water traveling down our paper hills. The sun is so bright that it's kind of hard to see what you're seeing. Oh, it's right there. Okay. So by spraying it, I was able to follow the water. The water first touched those peaks, right, on our paper, those mountains, and then it went down like runoff water and landed in the dips in my paper. So now I even have puddles. I have puddles on my paper, and that could represent lakes or ponds. And that's kind of how our estuary works here in Morro Bay. The water runs off the mountains that are nearby and collect in the estuary where it meets the salt water of the Pacific Ocean. And I encourage you to take your activity and let it dry. When you let it dry, the color of the marker that you have, it's going to bleed, and that will kind of show you where the water is traveling. So this is the Crumple a watershed activity. So I'm going to let mine rest out because I'm going to let it dry out because I want to see the cool ways that the color bleeds into the paper. So I'm going to set mine out and let it rest. I have a lot of puddles on my piece of paper, which is pretty cool. All right, and so you can see those mountains right here. The rainfall hits those mountains and then it runs down from the creeks into our estuary. And we all live in watersheds. And I definitely encourage you to check out where your watershed is and learn more about it. Okay. Hopefully that gave you a better idea of how watersheds work and how it plays a role here in the Morro Bay Estuary. This estuary is very unique because it is also home to many different types of ecosystems. And each ecosystem has different plants, has different animals that call that habitat home. And we have 4 different kinds of ecosystems. The first one that I really want to talk about, because it's what makes Morro Bay Estuary so unique, is its sand spit. The sand spit is a barrier that protects the estuary from the harsh ocean waves. And you can see it on your screen. They look like sand dunes, right? It's kind of far away. That is our sand spit. And our sand spit almost completely closes the estuary from the ocean, but there's a little opening, just a small opening that allows for a smooth, calm flow of salt water into our estuary. And it helps that calmness, makes it so that there can be a nursery for a lot of young animals that are just being born and they're trying to figure out life in general. So the sand spit is a unique feature of Morro Bay Estuary. You can see it right there. And we also have a salt marsh. And I have a close-up picture. The salt marsh is actually right behind me. And this type of environment is flooded and drained by the tides of the ocean. So sometimes when it's a very high tide, all of this land will be covered, right? Exactly where I'm standing, it might be even flooded right here. So that's kind of what makes a salt marsh. It's influenced by the tides of the ocean. And I have a better picture of the Morro Bay Salt Marsh. And this is a view of the entire estuary, but all of that land that you can see in between those creeks and rivers are the salt marsh. I actually took this picture on a hike called Black Hill, and this gives you an awesome view of the entire estuary. Our estuary is actually about 23,000 acres. It's really a hard number to picture, but maybe you can picture it this way. A football field is about 1.3 acres. So maybe many of you have been on a football field or seen a football game, but in order to cover this entire estuary, you would need about 17,400 football fields. Whoa, that's amazing. That's how big the Morro Bay Estuary is. It's massive, right? 17,400 football fields just to cover all of our entire estuary. And this is a picture of that. And you can see the sand spit from here on the very right-hand side. You can see a little bit of that barrier. That is the sand spit, and then the land in between those creeks and streams is the salt marsh. And here is a better picture of that salt marsh that's right behind me. This was on a day, I think I took this picture in around January. So pretty cool. It's not as colorful, I feel, right now from where I'm looking, but still beautiful. So those are two different types of ecosystems, right? You have the salt marsh, influenced by the tides of the ocean, and then you have the sand spit. Another type of ecosystem are those freshwater creeks and streams that flow through this estuary. And we have two main creeks. We have the Los Osos Creek and the Churro Creek that give a lot of fresh water to this estuary. And then the last type of ecosystem that we can see here in the estuary are the mudflats. And that's exactly it. I mean, that ecosystem is exactly what its name is. It's just an area that is filled with mud. And I have a close-up of an area, have a close-up of the mudflats. Those are snails. And I can see all of those snails from exactly where I am at right now. It's pretty cool. Really good close-up of the mudflats. So those are our four, and each of those four different ecosystems have different plants and animals that call them home. And to get to really figure out how this complex system works together and how you might see different animals, we're going to take a dive through Morro Bay, right? And I have a map of Morro Bay State Park. That is what you're looking at right now. We're gonna take a dive right where it says Morro Rock, which is right on your left-hand side. We're gonna start there. We're gonna put on our imaginary wetsuits and snorkel gear or scuba gear. It's really cold water here, very cold and murky. So we need to wear goggles and make sure to keep warm by putting on our wetsuit and stuff. And we're gonna dive down and talk about some of the wildlife that we might see. And then we're gonna swim closer to where I am standing right now, which is near the Los Osos wording. That's where I am kind of standing right now. So let's get started. We're gonna put on our imaginary wetsuit. I'm gonna start suiting up. I'm gonna suit up, get warm, put on my goggles, and I'm ready to dive in. And the first thing that I would most likely see is this right here. Not very cool. It's not tropical like Hawaii. This water is murky. It's hard to see. So we dive down deep into Morro Bay, and this is the view we would have. That green brown stuff that you're seeing on your screen is eelgrass. And so eelgrass is a flowering plant, and it is home to many different animals like crabs, harbor seals, even sea otters. So we would dive back up and we would see sea otters. Whoa, that is crazy. Maybe with their young because of the calm bay. Then we keep on swimming, and we land towards the salt marsh. In the salt marsh, you would see thousands and thousands of birds, especially during the winter time. There's about 20,000 birds that migrate into Morro Bay State Park, and they would be found usually right behind me. And I have a quick photo of all of those birds. And I also have a picture. Yep, right here. Look at that. That's around winter time where you would see most of those birds. We're swimming along, and we would come up to this beautiful view of all those different birds. And then if we kept swimming, we would see maybe leopard sharks, crabs, pelicans. We would see all of these amazing wildlife as we were swimming to those different ecosystems that call Morrow Bay Estuary home. So it's a really complex system, and all of these organisms, like the birds, the leopard sharks, the sea otters, and even the plants. The plant right behind me is actually known as pickleweed. All support life here at Morro Bay State Park. That's why we have such a high biodiversity. All of those different kinds of animals and plants is because of these amazing ecosystems and homes that we have here in Morro Bay. So I kind of went over. My apologies, it's 10:43, but I wanted to get an excellent experience of what it's like to be at this estuary and how to explain this complex system of watersheds, the Pacific Ocean, and all of the plants and animals that interact with each other. Hopefully you have a better idea of what an estuary is, and I definitely encourage you to check up on your own watershed and how you can help keep that environment healthy. For us, we keep our environment healthy by picking up after ourselves. That's a really key, important feature that we do to make sure that this place remains home to all of those wildlife that I just mentioned and keep it a healthy environment. So that's really all I have for today's Junior Ranger program. I'm so excited that I had the opportunity and chance to show you a little bit about Morro Bay State Park, and you got to go visit Hearst Castle up with Tracy. I learned so much on Tracy's program, so that was awesome that I got to see what she does all the time. So hopefully we'll see you again, and that we'll have an awesome summer together. I'm not sure if there was any questions throughout this program or not. Monica, did you have any questions? No questions so far? Okay. Well, I'll just go ahead and give you one more scan, and then we'll say our goodbyes. A beautiful day, and I hope you're having a beautiful day wherever you are as well. Okay, well, I'm gonna say my goodbyes.